the reality that Sean was killed and no longer with us. Days following, it sort of felt like he was on a trip somewhere. Maybe he was just away. It didn't feel real. We live in a world where, unfortunately, if you're from a low-income neighborhood or a minority neighborhood, you just may be stopped by an officer who will approach you a little bit too aggressive, or is expecting the worst out of you because of the neighborhood you live in. And not everyone is a criminal. Not everyone is doing wrong. Sean wasn't doing wrong that night. He was enjoying himself at a party, getting ready to start a new life. And ultimately, he ended up losing his life. 10 years ago, on November 24th, I was celebrating my bridal shower. Sean had went out with his friends for a bachelor party, and I had just wrapped up having an event with my mom, my sisters, some of my closest friends. I had went to bed at my mom's house, and I was woken up by a call from my brother-in-law, who had been partying with Sean that night. He had called my sister, and her husband had called her, and he said that something terrible had happened. We didn't know what, but right away, I felt, just complete, just nervous. I didn't know what to do. I just jumped up. What could have happened to Sean? For us, we thought maybe it was a car accident. Maybe what's the worst that could happen? But when we got to the hospital, we found out that he had been shot by police officers and he had passed away. I was in shock for a long time. The way that I was able to heal and move forward was by getting active, reaching out to community leaders, activists, elected officials, anyone who would hear us and hear our side of the story and help to find justice. Shortly after, the nation began to cry out. People began marching and protesting, and to see people affected, by this, who didn't even know Sean, who didn't know me, it really, it was very moving. I have come to a place of acceptance over these 10 years. This thing will really kill you if you let it. It's like the bitterness, it's like cancer, it eats away at you. But in order to really get past it, you have to learn how to accept, you have to learn how to live. Now that social media is taken over, information is passed instantly. So it feels like, oh my gosh, this is happening more and more, but it's not happening more and more. The violence isn't new, the camera phones are new. Back then it was, we met the first, the photographer who was on the scene. That was the closest we got, was seeing a picture of Trent Benefield on the floor, with blood dripping down his forehead. That was the closest we got to an image of what happened that night, or the footage afterwards, the car parked on the street that we've all seen, riddled with bullets. So now, social media, we're able to pass that information right away. And even in the case of Eric Garner, Philando Castile, it's live. That has to be traumatizing for the family. You don't have to be in that car to be affected by it. The family members suffer from that. Sean Bell was sort of pre-social media, so it was our word against the word of the officers. I don't think a video would have changed the outcome of what happened, and it certainly wouldn't have helped the family, not one bit. It was painful enough, to hear what he had been through and how he must have been feeling, knowing Sean, knowing him closely, intimately, knowing how he genuinely feels about, what makes him afraid, what makes him happy. That was enough, to know that in his last moments he was running for his life. When my daughters are older, I pray that they will remember that he was a person who put family first before everything. No matter what they may read or what they may hear, that they know that this is who their father was. His memorabilia, I keep that so that one day I can pass it on to my daughters. The dress that I was going to wear, the rings that I wore, then, I hope to pass that on to my daughters. I hope that everything that we've done in his name continues on as a lasting legacy, and that they will know who their father was through those things.